Hi, ladies. I'm Diane Canada. Thanks for joining me today. Lady Up, America. Well, I'll tell you what, we've been doing a lot of lading up around here the last week. For those of you who may not have heard, I have recently been honored to become the campaign manager for U.S. congressional candidate Joe Leurs. I'm going to introduce you to him today, but what we're going to be talking about a lot is what it's like to run for office for the first time. I want you to just hear his heart, get to know him a little bit, and I think you're going to really be surprised at not only the depth of character, but the depth of experience that this person brings to the U.S. Congress. So come back and meet Joe here in just a minute. Be right back.
Women of America, here's some breaking news. Ain't no cavalry coming to save the red from the rabid blue. We have the power, time to take the field. Step up and into your ruby red heels. Taking back this house, taking back this town. Mama, don't back down. Just lady up, lady up, lady up.
All right, ladies, welcome back. I'm so excited about this conversation today. You know, I want to just give you a quick little snapshot of how this came about, because I know a lot of you are probably going, you're doing what? So as many of you know, that I do a lot of speaking for GOP groups and Republican women's groups. That's my heart, is winning people to Republican values, because they are American values. I talk a lot about those 7 load-bearing walls of our country, and we need to take the hammer out of the hands of those trying to knock them down. So I was speaking for this group in Montgomery County here in Tennessee, and I met this man, Joe. And at the time, he came up and talked with me because we had a connection. Many of you know that my brother, who was a Marine who is now passed on. I always talk about my brother because he was my entry into politics. Well, Joe came up and introduced himself. He's a fellow Marine, and we just made that connection there and talked a lot about their service. Well, we stayed in touch, and he decided when Mark Green, who is over the 7th district here as a United States representative, he decided to retire from office in July abruptly. Just got elected last November, and he decided to retire. He said that he had something that opened up in the private sector that was something he couldn't turn down, and so he gave up his seat. Well, now there is what's called a special election to fill that seat. And that's happening very quickly. We're coming up on the primary, which we're going to kind of go into more what that means here in a minute with Joe. But the primary election takes 11 Republican candidates that really want Mark's seat, and it's going to narrow them down to 1. And then whoever makes that primary election, then they will face off against the Democrat in December. So we have a very short runway. It's a sprint. And this is an opportunity for you to get to know Joe, especially if you live in Mark Green's district here in Tennessee, or if you know someone who does. So we want to just dive into his campaign a little bit, share with you some of the behind the scenes that goes on, when you're running a U.S. congressional campaign, and then also help you get to know Joe and hopefully earn your vote. So let's welcome into the show. Please meet Joe Leurs. Hey, Joe.
Hey, Diane. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks for coming on today and
Thanks for having me.
meeting my ladies, the ladies of Lady Up America.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah. Joe, we've been getting to know each other quite well over the last couple of weeks. I think I came on with you a little over a week ago, and then just getting to know you over the last few months. I'm hoping that the women can get to know you like I have had the honor of getting to know you. I want them to just really hear your heart today, hear about your experience, why you are made to meet this moment right now in our country's history. So let's dive in and see where the conversation takes us. Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right. So, all right. Right out of the gate, I think women need to understand a little bit about your background. So, who is Joe Leurs, and why on earth would you want to go into the cesspool of Washington politics?
Honestly, Joe Leurs is just a regular, average American. I have done, some would say, above average things. I am a veteran of the Marine Corps, a veteran of the Iraq War. I am a Purple Heart recipient. After I left the Marine Corps, I joined the Metro Nashville Police Department, as a police officer, I kind of worked my way up through patrol and into becoming a narcotics and gang detective. And I worked undercover for a long time, all while having a toddler daughter and working towards my degrees using the post 9/11 GI Bill. I was able to get a bachelor's degree in organizational leadership and a master in business administration, all while protecting the citizens of Nashville. And then, if that wasn't enough, um, I found that I was missing the military and the camaraderie. And so I actually joined the Army Reserve and was stationed right here in Nashville with the 450th Military Police Company, which I fit really well into because I was a city cop. So
Yeah.
I got to teach these soldiers police tactics and things of that nature to help them while bringing in combat tactics from the infantry to make them a more well rounded unit.
Hmm.
So that's a little bit about my background. I decided I wanted to run for Congress because I just see all the crime and all the things that we're seeing on the news, and I just can't sit back and watch it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I would imagine that would be an impossibility for you, and you've spent your entire career protecting people to sit back and just watch them become sitting ducks for the gangs, the cartels, the invaders, the illegal invaders that we have in our country. I want to take a minute and just honor you for your service. Thank you, as from a proud American. Thank you for your service in every capacity.
You are very welcome. I would do it all again because I have a deep, deep love for this country. Um, and it just goes back generations in my family. Pretty much every oldest male served in the military. And I feel that I have bought my freedom, but more importantly, I bought yours and I
Mhm.
bought my daughter's freedom. And
Mhm.
if we don't have men and women to step up and join the U.S. military to defend what the American way of life is, then we're not going to have an America anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. You and I often offline, we talk about that quote from Ronald Reagan that says, we're only one generation away from extinction of freedom in America. And that is so true. I think this is why they're after our kids. I mean, obviously, it's why they're after our kids. If they can indoctrinate them young and get them to hate our country or get them to just be dumbed down to the point where they don't understand their freedoms and they're just so willing to hand them over for ease and comfort. It's just, I say all the time, our founding fathers are rolling in their graves.
I agree. I was actually just watching a clip today of a podcast, and it was a wealthy businessman that's really pro-American, and he was sitting with young people that are saying capitalist is the devil and we should be more socialist. So he brought them up one by one and said, "Okay, here's the deal. I will pay you a first class one way ticket to any communist country in the world.
Hmm.
Where do you want to go?" And every single one of them was, I
Yeah, I
wait,
bet.
what? So that tells me that these people really don't believe what they're saying. They're
Right.
just spewing hate
Yeah.
into the existence
Yeah.
because they have a microphone or they have a keyboard or
Yeah.
they have a platform to do it.
Yeah, that's right. They have no idea what they are ushering in. Eh, I look at New York and what's happening with Mamdani, and the connection to that I'd love to draw with you is that's ground zero. And you talk about for a minute. You were in the Marines prior to 9/11. And talk about that, like that timing in your life and how it shifted for you.
So on 9/11 at 5 o'clock in the morning Pacific time, because I was stationed in California, I was just driving to work like any normal day. I was wearing a physical training uniform because I had to be at work by 6 o'clock, and we were going to go for a run or whatever the platoon sergeant wanted us to do. My uniform was hanging crisp behind my seat, normal day. And as I was listening to the radio, I heard that a plane had crashed into one of the twin towers. My initial thought was, what kind of pilot like hits a building? Like, how can you miss that?
Yeah.
And or how could you hit it? Like, this seems like it could be completely avoidable. And then it switched short time later, and another one had hit because now the news is watching it, and
Hmm.
they saw a commercial airliner hit it, and that's when I knew something was wrong. And I was right because as I got onto the base, they were in the process of locking everything down. And then shortly, a plane hit the Pentagon. And then one landed in Pennsylvania or crashed in Pennsylvania because it was headed for the Capitol or the White House. We don't really know. So at that point, I knew that all of a sudden, peacetime Marine Corps is gone.
Mhm.
And the country is getting ready to ask me to do things that I was trained to do.
Yeah.
And I could have got out of the Marine Corps because I was coming toward the end of my enlistment and I wanted to be a police officer. I wanted to move on and do things. But that calling, that gut feeling that you feel that your country needs you, probably what World War II veterans felt shortly after Pearl Harbor, like recruiting
Mhm.
offices were lines were around the block.
Yeah.
I felt that, and I went into my career planner and told him that I wanted to reenlist, and I reenlisted, knowing what was going to happen.
Mhm.
Um, and a short time later, I found myself in Iraq, defending this country against terrorism, defending the world against terrorism, and luckily, nothing from that magnitude has happened since then because we took the fight to the enemy. I would much rather fight enemies of the United States overseas because if I can fight them over there, then that means they're not over here fighting you and your way of life. Um, One of the
Yeah.
most proud things that I did, even as a police officer, was allowing people uh, to go through their everyday life without even really thinking about it, but I was there.
Mhm. You were standing on the wall for us.
Mm. So it
You
was.
go ahead.
I was just going to say it was a very big moment in history, and we all know where we were
Yeah.
when 9/11 happened. I
Yeah.
was on the 405 freeway heading south to Camp Pendleton in Southern California when that happened, and that is something that I will always remember.
Yeah. Yeah. All of us will. You when you were deployed in Operation Iraqi Freedom, you were injured there and earned a Purple Heart as a result. Um, Came back here and you weren't done. You went ahead and you enlisted. You, I guess you, how did that? What's the right way to say it? You didn't enlist in the Metro PD, but how does that?
I applied and got hired. I
Applied and
mean,
got hired at the Metro PD.
it's just like any other job, except there's a long vetting process because they're police. You have to make sure that these are quality men and women
Mhm.
that don't have criminal backgrounds and have low moral integrity because you're trusting them to enforce the law and to protect the citizens of whatever city that the police officers or whatever county or whatever state they're in.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting about this? I just want to point out is a lot of our men and women come back from war zones, like my brother did, with severe PTSD. And you want a mission here at home when you come back. My brother was not. He would not have been a good candidate for the police force in Atlanta because he had a pretty severe brain injury and he had massive PTSD. But for you, you were able to channel that and serve for 10 years on the Metro PD, and not only as you say, a city cop, but also to be able to infiltrate now some of the most dangerous gangs and cartels that are plaguing our city. So that really speaks to your mental stability too, when your ability to harness a lot of the horrors of war that you most certainly saw and be able to direct them in a productive way.
I've always been a servant, servant leader, and just a humble servant. I, like I said, I would do it all again. It takes a certain type of person to be a police officer in this day and age, or even, you know, 20 years ago. These men and women, they run toward the danger. They are the
Mm.
ones that come when you're at your worst day.
Yeah.
Like nobody calls the police to come chat or come have a soda.
Yeah.
It's always a horrific car crash. It's a domestic violence. It's a homicide. It's a
Yeah.
shooting. Like it's all these things. And these men and women put their life on the line every day, just like I did. I'm no better than any one of them.
Yeah.
When I walked out that door, I knew that it was more dangerous to be a police officer in this country than a forward deployed Marine
Mm.
because our officers are subjected 24/7 to basically their life, like car crashes, shootings, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very dangerous work, and my hat's off to the people that are still doing it because they're keeping me safe.
Yeah. My hat's off to them too. Full respect. So all of this defund the police and all that we've seen over the last 4 or 5 years before Trump came back into office must have been gut wrenching for you to watch the BLM riots during COVID, all of that. Did that fuel your desire to run?
It did. I think BLM. I think all lives matter, and it shouldn't just be to a certain race.
Yeah.
Um, BLM, it just seems like it was a way to make money. And
Yeah.
we know now that some of the higher up people in BLM, they were siphoning money, they were taking money, and none of it was going to
To anything.
anybody in Section 8 housing or anything like
No,
that.
of course not.
And I just really wish America would wake up and see a scam when they see it.
Yeah.
And these are the things why I wanted to run for Congress, because I'll always tell the truth, and I'll tell you a scam when I see it. And BLM is one of them.
Yeah.
It's just disgusting to me that somebody would capitalize
Hmm.
on an event and then let it spread like wildfire, which turned into a bunch of riots that were mostly peaceful. It wasn't mostly peaceful.
No.
Buildings were getting burned, cities were being torn down, cops were getting hurt, innocent civilians were getting hurt
Yeah.
by all these agitators, and it needs to stop. We have a cancer in our country, and the only way to beat cancer is to cut it out.
Yeah. Obviously the economy is a big deal for people when they're having trouble putting food on the table and paying their bills and all that. That's a huge thing. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But I want to stay parked right here for just a second on the safety issues. This last administration, they opened up. I mean, we talk about it all the time on this podcast in different ways, whether I have a guest or I'm just on here by myself. We we just see how they literally opened the front door and just ushered millions of people into our country and just said, y'all come on in. Everybody around the world, just come on in. And now we've got millions of people here that a few of them maybe are looking for a better life, but the large majority were military age men, or they were cartels, or they were traffickers, or they ushered in. I mean, we have 300 and some thousand children, upwards of 400,000 just vanished, just missing, that have either gone into labor camps or they've gone into the sex trade or some form of trafficking. It's like a 911 that our country is in right now. And I think you, with the experience that you bring, and I want you to just talk about that a little bit, because you and I, again, offline, we have talked about it. I want my listeners to hear your heart. You have a unique skill set to meet this, because we're not just talking about what we're seeing on the news. I mean, we as Americans, we are now, everyday Americans are now making the news daily by being attacked in some way, whether it's physically, economically, civilly, socially. There's so many ramifications from what this last administration did, that every state is a border state now. Every state is being infiltrated, whether you're in a big city or in a rural community. It's just everywhere. So let's talk about how you're uniquely qualified to meet this moment, some of those cultural issues that you've shared with me.
So the wolf is at the door. Not only was the wolf at the door, but we let them in.
Yeah.
When the Biden administration just let the border come completely wide open, we didn't see families coming over, mom, dad, children, to
Yeah.
seek a better way of life. We saw some of that, and I'm not even going to try to play that didn't happen, but the overwhelming majority
Yes.
were military age men
Yes.
from all walks of life,
Yep.
from different countries, some of which are countries that hate us,
Yeah.
from the Middle East all the way down into Central America, Tren de Agua, like this type of stuff, MS-13. Their members were pouring into the United States through an unchecked border, and the Biden administration just cuffed our police and our border patrol,
Yeah.
and they just waved them in. And it
Yeah.
was like, oh, go over there. Here's your court date in 10 years.
Yeah.
Make sure you show up. Everybody knows they're not going to show up.
Yeah.
And we've caught terrorists from Egypt that were trying to come in. The last DOJ secretary under the Biden administration said there are people in this country that wish to do us harm, and we don't know where they are.
Yeah.
And 9/11 most certainly is going to happen again.
Yeah.
And my question is, whose fault is it? And then you flip the table literally overnight. President Trump secured the border and
Mhm.
told the American people we did not need new legislation. We just
Yeah.
needed a new president. And I
Yeah.
firmly believe that. We
Yeah.
need to enforce what we have.
Mhm.
And then we need to target these individuals and deport them.
Yep. Yeah. It's treason as far as I'm concerned. I talk a lot in Lady Up America about those 7 load bearing walls, and one of them is peace through strength. It is government's number one job, like they're above every responsibility that they have. The number one job is peace through strength, to keep us safe domestically and from foreign terrorists, any foreign or domestic threats. And I know that's what you signed up for when you went into the military. And it's also an oath you take as a police officer. You know, to me, and I'll just say this out loud, to me, that entire administration should be held to the fullest extent of the law for treason. To open us up like that and put everyday Americans at such risk. Anytime we have a flood like that in any capacity, you can't absorb these people fast enough. And on top of that, again, like you say, the ones who are here to do us harm, all of the blood that was shed from these perpetrators attacking everyday Americans, it's all on the Biden administration's hands. And a lot of us moms now, a lot of women and a lot of moms, grandmothers are terrified for their children. Like, Joe, we can't, I talk to my friends about this all the time. We can't go take a walk now at a park to get some exercise without fear that we're going to be harmed, that we're going to be, and this is one of the things I want to talk about with you, because you shared with me offline how, somebody taking you by the hair of the head and pulling you off in the woods and having their way with you. Tell the folks, tell the ladies out here about how that's normal in some countries.
So, in some countries, especially in the Middle East, men dominate and control women. There's no such thing as domestic violence laws or anything like that. In
Yeah.
fact, it's the exact opposite. If your wife, if your sister brings dishonor to the family, they can kill you,
Yeah.
like literally kill you. And it's called an honor killing.
Yeah.
And it is completely culturally accepted in some of
Mhm.
these countries to just grab a woman and then go behind, a building or whatever and have their way with her and then move on like it was nothing.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
just, they're bringing that mentality here.
Yeah.
It's not okay over there, but it's definitely not okay over here because we have laws to protect our citizens and we
Yeah.
have law enforcement that are there to enforce the law. What the country needs to really understand is that when you open up the floodgates and let all these people in, they're bringing in all of their ideals. They're bringing
Mhm.
in their culture, which is fine, generally speaking. But the line has to be drawn somewhere. And beating women, raping women, um, kidnapping women, killing women is not the answer. That's not okay. And
Yeah.
I will never let that be okay.
Yeah.
I have a young daughter, and I worry about that every day. And what kind of world is she going to grow up in?
Yeah.
Well, she's not going to grow up in a safe world unless people do something about it, which is why I want to run for Congress because I can't just sit back and keep watching this happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Fully agree. And yes, when people are coming here, even let's just say we're not even talking about an open border, but when we're just talking about normal immigration, legal immigration, there is a necessary process for people to assimilate to our country, for them to take classes, understand what America is all about, pledge your allegiance to America, be a contributing member of society. And that takes a little time for people to understand our laws and understand our way of life and all of that. So, but when you just come in, get through the gate at the border, and then they say, okay, see ya, we'll see you, like you say, in 10 years. They have no idea what our laws are. We're seeing even these traffic atrocities that are happening when, and I personally, I've shared this on the show before, but I personally was run down in a parking lot by someone here illegally from Honduras without a driver's license, he was even in a stolen truck. If they break our laws at the border, they're going to break more laws. They don't even know what our laws are. And like that man on the interstate, it was just so horrible watching that U-turn that he made in that semi truck, and those 3 people in the van being killed. I mean, we're just at the tip of the iceberg of what can happen. And Joe, my fear is that Trump can't get these people out of here fast enough. We're deporting as fast as we can every time he has to, kind of face off with another judge trying to stop it. But as much as as hard as Tom Homan and them are working to get them out, it's going to take years. Like, we're going to be seeing the residual effects of this for years. And this is why I believe in you going into Congress. I think you are the man for this moment, because you not only have experience dealing with these different cultures and being able to bring that wisdom to Congress, but you also have the business acumen and the educational background to really be effective up there. And I want to shift to that here next, because as much as I honor your boots on the ground experience, I want people to understand too that, you're not, like my brother would say, I'm not just a grunt. You're not just a grunt. You're somebody who actually has an MBA, somebody who can understand complex issues and bring solutions and bring vision. So let's share a little bit about maybe what some of your vision might be for how do we stop this? How do we interrupt this, and how do we get a hold of it?
I am not just a grunt. I chose to be a grunt. Um, and believe it or not, what a lot of people don't know is in the infantry, especially in the Marine Corps, most of us are pretty intelligent.
Yeah.
It takes a pretty intelligent person to use these complex systems and do these complex missions. But
Yes.
to shift gears, um, I think that President Trump is the right man for the job right now.
Hmm.
I think that we are called, and people move in like around the chessboard uh, of life for a reason. Uh, Largely due to Donald Trump's success is he's a businessman. He's not a politician.
Yeah.
I am nowhere near Donald Trump, but I do own a couple of small businesses. I have a U.S. patent where I invented a seatbelt technology for first responders, military, and it can be used in every car in the world. We're not there yet, but it could realistically get that way. I think having an outsider, no one in Congress that I'm aware of is retired military, a retired police officer, and has a graduate level education in business. And I think that those three things set me completely apart from everyone else because I've been boots on the ground, but I also understand what a balance sheet is.
Hmm.
And a balance sheet is in any indicative to any business. It's how much money do we have? How much money do we owe? And that number needs to match. It
Hmm.
needs to be balanced. We haven't had a balanced budget in the Congress in forever.
Since Newt Gingrich. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, the last US president to pay off the national debt was Andrew Jackson. I was talking to a
Yeah.
young man the other day and he was just like, I find that hard to believe. Okay. You got a smartphone right there. Google it, look it up. I'm not telling you a lie. And
Hmm.
he looked at it and he was just floored.
Yeah.
How is that possible? Because our federal government has been run by politicians.
Yeah.
And
And lobbyists.
and lobbyists as well. Most of those politicians are attorneys. Most of those people that go up to Congress become multimillionaires.
Yeah.
I'm a middle class man. I am not a millionaire. I am not wealthy by any stretch of the imagination. People like me don't join the military to get rich. People like me don't join the police department to get rich. People like me don't run for Congress to get rich.
Hmm.
I don't care about money. What I care about is safety. What I
Hmm.
care about is the US Constitution. What I care about is leaving this country better than I found it. And if we don't do something soon, that's what's going to happen. We need people that have business savvy in order to right this ship. It's just, a boat going through the ocean. You can't stop it on a dime, and it's going to take a little bit to course correct and everything to get it on point. And that is what Donald Trump is doing right now. And we need to continue that work because the inevitable is going to happen in 3 years. Donald Trump is going to serve the rest of his term and he's going to walk off into the sunset. Not
Hmm.
saying he won't be involved, but he won't be the president anymore.
Hmm.
And the only way that we can protect our country, defend our country, and make sure that we continue on economic progress is the Congress. The Congress sets the laws, the Congress writes the budget. And if we can have people in there that understand these two fundamental things, then we can right this ship and we can usher in the golden age of America.
Something that I've been thinking about a lot lately as we've been working together is that you remind me a lot of JD Vance. JD Vance is a fellow Marine and went on to use his GI Bill and connections that he had to get his education at Yale, I believe it is.
Yep.
And I can see the two of you standing together, you standing in Congress beside him if he is the successor. And even now with Trump, this special election is coming up quick. As of December, January, you could be swearing in and going up there. I mean, this is an immediate election. This is off cycle. This is not normally when people vote. But I could absolutely see the two of you standing side by side to support Trump and further these policies. I see JD Vance right now as an apprentice under Trump, no pun intended, from The Apprentice. But I do see that happening, and I hope that he will be the successor. I hope that he will be voted in by the American people when Trump's term is up. And I would love to see you standing there in Congress with him to support and further these Trump policies that I believe he would champion. He would continue to champion. Let's shift for just a minute because I want my listeners to understand what it's like to run, especially in this machine when you've got opponents that can outspend you 3-1 in a lot of cases when you're new on the scene. And again, even in a regular election cycle, this is a tough thing. But when you come in with such a short runway to an election, it's even harder. Let's share with people some of the challenges that we're seeing. And maybe the people that are running are in it for the right reasons. Maybe they are in it to get rich. Only God knows someone's heart. But what are some of the challenges? Let's just share with people, what you're facing right now on this campaign trail.
One of the things that I respect from Donald Trump during this last election season is he got up there and said, I could use $25.
Mm-hmm.
If that means that your family's not going to eat, then keep your $25.
That's right. Exactly.
That's not exactly what he said, but that was the preface. And
Yeah.
I'm the same way. I will find a way to make it work.
Yeah.
You don't need $1 million to run an election.
Right.
You don't need $100,000 to get on TV or to get your message across. What you need is savviness.
Mm-hmm.
And there's really no other way to say it. Like, you need to understand how you can get the most bang for your buck instead of doing like a shotgun and just blasting something out there and hoping that it'll stick. And I see a lot of my opponents, that's exactly what they're doing because
Mm-hmm.
that's what worked in the past. And I think that we're in a huge, huge shift in
Yes.
America.
Yes, we are.
For example, nobody reads the newspaper anymore because, I can get it on my phone.
Yeah.
Right.
Multiple newspapers on your
Yeah.
phone.
And I can even use AI to filter and analyze all of it
Mm-hmm.
and then get the pros and cons of everything and then
Mm-hmm.
make a decision.
Yeah.
So there's a fundamental shift in what's going on. And what I'm doing is using that to my advantage. I want to reach out and touch the individual voter because I know the individual voter is like me and they are sick and tired of the political game.
Yeah. Yep. I am
Don't
too.
hold.
And a lot
Yeah.
of women are too. The women tell me now they just turn the news off. They just can't even stand to watch it anymore.
Yeah, a politician will promise this, promise that, and then they
Mm-hmm.
won't deliver. And then you get a guy like President Trump that made a lot of promises, and he's delivered on a lot of promises. And
Mm-hmm.
then the left gets mad at that. Well,
Yeah.
he told you what he was going to do.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand how this is a surprise. And that's kind of the model that I'm following. If I say that I'm going to do something, then I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And I want constituents to hold me accountable. I think that you should be able to reach your congressman. I mean, obviously not 1 or 2 in the morning, but within business hours, you should be able to reach your congressman and they should reach back out to you, whether it's personally, through staff, or via email. And I'm not naive, Diane. I know that I can't answer every email or every phone call. But what I can do is put together a world-class constituent services section
Mm-hmm.
that will take care of you because I will hold them accountable just like you hold me accountable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kind of getting back to the campaign trail for a minute without giving away our secrets, of course. Um, the way that I have observed it, and certainly I'm observing it again on your campaign, is that the way that the Republican machine works is that the one with the most money wins. At least that's the persona.
Mhm.
And we saw in this last presidential election that that whole mentality is totally out the window. I mean, Trump just he just ripped it up and threw it out. Kamala outspent him. You know, I don't know how much. It raised what a couple of $1 billion in her
I
campaign.
believe it was 1.2 billion with a B,
Yeah,
and then still finished like 20 million with an
yeah,
M in
yeah,
the deficit.
in debt,
So
and he killed her.
1.5 billion dollars.
Yeah, and he sank her, on election night. And so money is not. I mean, at one point, money played the key role, but that is not the case anymore. And this is something that the Republican Party just will not see. People want authenticity. They want something they can believe. They've completely lost trust in our government at this point, and they want to send real people again. They want to send the average Joe again to Congress. They're tired of these parasites feeding off of the political system. And so this is again something that I see so that inspires me so much about you is that you can bring everything that we would hope for in a congressman, all of the skill sets, all of the mentality, all of the integrity, the ability to be able to go up there and not be bought, not be swayed and tempted by all of the trappings that come with that. I think if you were that person, you would have fallen long before now. You've been in cesspools your entire career and you've not lost your integrity and your character. When I go down to the police station with you, or I hear from the veterans that served with you, they do nothing but sing your praises. They do nothing but tell me what a quality person you are. That just fires me up because now I know that we can send you into that cesspool and you're going to be immovable. And that's what Tennessee needs is someone who's not going to fall into the trappings. So, but I see these opponents of yours, and I won't name names, but I will just say that a lot of the establishment ideology is really pushing them on this race, and that's great. Let it do that because I think with what we're doing, with how you're running your campaign, how we're running it together, I think it's just so much more personal and so much smarter. And the money is not the key differentiator anymore. That left when Biden left office. Trump has changed the whole game. And I hope our party will wake up to that and stop. Even we just talk about doing things like door knocking. How many women are going to be opening their doors now to door knockers with all of these illegal migrants here that mean us harm? They're watching the news. They're not going to open their door. Door knocking is done as
I
far as
don't
I'm
open
concerned.
my
I'm not
door,
saying
Diane.
don't, huh?
I don't open my door
Yeah, I'm
unless
not
I
saying
know
we
who it
don't go
is.
try. Like we can still go try, but where is our time better spent? So I say let them go do their thing. That's fine, but we're just going to spend our time doing different things, doing things that are going to personally connect. And you're great at that. I see the way people respond to you. They just love you. They want to talk to you. I saw a woman with one of your opponent's stickers on the other day come outside and talk with you and ask for one of your signs, and you converted her. And I loved that. It's all about that personal touch, that personal connection, and you're dripping that. You're dripping authenticity.
I remember that lady and her husband. And you're right. I can't be bought. I could have been bought.
Mhm.
I've been in rooms with money from the floor to the ceiling as a detective. Drugs the same way. I could have easily done that way, but what sets me, what makes me me, is I have a deep moral integrity,
Yeah.
and nothing is worth compromising that because at the end of the day, I mean, you can take this jacket off, you can take all this stuff off the wall. The only thing that makes me me is my character and my integrity. If I don't have that,
Yeah.
then I don't have anything. And I refuse to be an empty suit. I refuse to be um, coronated or anything of the sort because I do bring a different perspective, and my opponents know it. And I know that I'm living rent free in their head, and I'm not doing anything special. I'm just being me and
Yeah.
tactfully pointing out the differences and what sets me apart. And it's starting to resonate. And
Hmm.
I really hope that it resonates enough to get through the primary, because we need a warrior in this seat
A
to
real warrior.
be, yeah, to be inside of Congress as, number 435 of 435. I'm not naive. I
Hmm.
know that I'm going to be Joe Nobody going up there. And my understanding is I don't work for these people. I work for the constituent. If it's not good for the constituent, then it's not good for me. So how can
Amen.
we take that and apply it to where it's best for Tennessee? And that's what you
Yeah.
need in a congressman. You need a negotiator. And I think that Donald Trump is the master at
Yeah.
negotiation.
Art of the deal.
He's proven it.
Yeah.
Something simple. I'm going to put 100% tariffs on you. And they're like, yeah, right, whatever. And then he does it. And then it's like, whoa, 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 wait, 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 wait. I didn't think you were serious. And then it's just pulling a lever,
Yeah.
right? And now he doesn't have to say something like that. He just has to look at him funny. Like,
Yeah.
it's really the road you want to go down. And
Yeah.
again, I'm nowhere near President Trump. Not even close. The guy spent a lifetime uh, building and businesses and all this other stuff, but he knows how to talk to people. He
Hmm.
knows how to relate to people. I can talk to people that are in poverty. I can talk to people that are in middle class, and I can talk to the elite, because it makes no difference to me who you are. At the end of the day, you are an American. How can I help you? How can I serve you?
The audience that we live for is the audience of one. I know you're a Christian. I know that's important for women to hear. I know that that moral integrity and that moral courage comes from Him in you. And, a lot of people are going to they're going to watch this episode and they're going to say, okay, sure, Joe. Everybody goes up there with great intentions. I was just talking to somebody yesterday that said, that after that they went up there with all these great ideas, great intentions, all this integrity, and within a couple of years, he watched them change completely and fall prey to the trappings. Again, I just say that if you were going to fall prey to that, you would have long done it before now. You've been training for the swamp your whole life. You've been in swamps. You've been draining swamps your whole career.
Mhm.
So I think we're safe with you. I would much rather send you having that proven track record than someone that has not been in those trenches, been in those swamps, because you know exactly what the swamp monsters are. You know exactly how to deal with it. You know exactly how to go and bring your wisdom to show other congressmen how we eradicate these gangs, these cartels, these invaders. You understand it at a level that no one else does. So I'm doing everything that I possibly can to stand with you and support you as we go into this next 5 weeks, which we have 5 weeks from today.
Mhm.
So over these next 5 weeks, Joe, we are going to measure twice. We're going to cut once. We're going to be very strategic. It's going to be like battle, right? It's going to be like like war in a lot of ways. We're not going low. We're not going dirty. That's not how we roll. But I'm sure that that won't be the case in other campaigns, and that's fine. But we're going to do it living for an audience of one. And I'm proud. I'm really, really proud to stand with you, to introduce you to my listeners, and for us to just take this over the finish line. I really believe in you. And I just thank you for raising your hand to serve when not a lot of people would be willing to do that. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. I will not. I've told you this. I will not let you down. I can't quit. I don't even know how to quit anything. I I actually wanted to quit the police department and asked my sergeant, "How do you quit?" Because I had no idea. Like, what do you do? Just give the car keys and your badge and gun to somebody like you see on TV? And they're like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" And then there was a reason and all this other stuff, but I I cannot quit. Um, President Bush said at the World Trade that we will not falter, we will not fail. These things resonate in me because I've walked that line, and I walked that line for you and your listeners and everybody else in Tennessee and across the country. We can't continue to sit idly by. Otherwise, we are not going to have a country left. This
Yeah.
is not what I bled for. This is not what I buried my friends for. to see Marxism and it just in New York City, like that's where 9/11 happened. And we swore we'd never forget.
Yeah.
They forgot.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
promise you they forgot.
Yeah.
Because if they didn't forget, they wouldn't be behind Mondami.
Yeah. Yeah. We've got big problems to solve in this country, and it's going to take very wise people to help solve them. There's no one that can hold a candle to you on this campaign trail when it comes to the wisdom, the experience to tackle this specific, unprecedented problem that we have in our country. So you are the man for the job. You are, I believe God created you to meet this moment, and we got to get you elected. It's just at the end of the day, we got to get you elected. So let's just share with people again. So ladies, coming up, the primary election in here, Tennessee District 7, which covers, Joe, tell them kind of what the district map looks like from the Kentucky line there.
So if you look at the Tennessee map, um, you look at Robertson County going all the way to Stewart, and then down around Benton, all the way down to the Alabama line, and then back up around Wayne County, Perry. It comes into Wilson County, or not Wilson, Williamson County.
Williamson
I always
County.
get those two mixed
Yeah.
up, but it comes through Williamson County and then parts of Davidson County. So it's a very large chunk of the
Hickman,
state of
Dixon.
Tennessee.
Yep.
Hickman, Dixon, Decatur.
Yep.
There's 14 counties.
Yeah. Big district.
It's very large, very rural. There are some heavily populated areas like Montgomery County and Williamson County. Um, I think we need somebody that can talk to everybody, like I said,
Yeah.
a farmer, a businessman,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
housewife, an executive. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. The point is that I won't quit on you, which is what brought us into this situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I will
Yeah.
never do that to the state of Tennessee
Yeah.
because this is what happens when you quit.
Yeah. And this opens up, because it's not a traditional election season. This opens up, it makes us vulnerable to a Democrat sliding in and stealing the seat. And that's what we can't afford. So yeah, we need people who won't quit. And that's always been my motto my whole life is lady up and don't quit. Like so we're aligned. I think God brought us together for such a time as this. So ladies, we've got the election coming up October 7th. And again, what that means is that all of the 11 candidates that are running under the Republican ticket for this seat will be narrowed down to one on October 7th. And I find it very ironic that it's October 7th. Also, let me just say that. And then from that point, then that person, whoever wins the Republican primary that date, will then face off against the Democrat in the general election, special election on December 2nd, right? Isn't it December 2nd, I believe, Joe?
That is correct. And I'd also like to say that there is early voting starting on September 17th.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
Early
and I
voting.
believe that goes to like the second or something. I don't have the calendar right in front of me, but for,
Yeah.
10 days, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's happening very fast. 17 days, you can cast your vote.
Yeah. Yeah.
17 days can determine who we choose as a Republican to face off against a Democrat, which I think there's 4 or 5 in
Yeah.
that pool. At the end of the day, we need to save the seat. We need to keep Tennessee red
Yeah.
because people are moving to Tennessee for a reason. They're fleeing these blue states. They're fleeing these sanctuary cities. They're doing it for a reason, and we can't allow them to turn us into that because I don't know about you, Diane, but I kind of like Tennessee the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah. We have to protect, we have to fortify our own state, and we've got to keep people in that will bring our values to Washington. So,
Yeah.
all right, my friend, it's I better get off of this podcast because we need to get to work. We got work to do.
That
But
is correct.
thank you so much, ladies, for listening today.
Goodbye, ladies.
Please go vote Joe Lures for Congress October 7th. Early voting starts September 17th. You'll see us pumping out a lot more information to you, videos to you. All of these things want to help you get to know him even more. But I hope this really helped you today to hear his heart and to hear why I'm so proud to stand beside him. And I hope you will too. All right, ladies, have a great rest of your day. We'll be back very soon, I'm sure. Lady up.
Taking back this house, taking back this town. Mama, don't back down. Just a lady,